Double bind.
Double bind.
Double bind.
Double bind.
Double bind.
Anyway, but yeah, back to Bayesian accents. I'm being honest. Have any of you ever been in a chicken coop?
What is a chicken coop?
Yes.
Okay,
Do the chickens actually
stay, in the little cages.
Ooh, no.
For that. He's fucked up for that. But
Listen, I'm dead serious. Yo, forgive me for all my Bajan people. And that's where my peoples originally came from, St. Kitts and Barbados. But I'm sorry, that is the worst Caribbean accent on the planet. They all sound like this. Cluck, 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 cluck.
According to all of the islands, Bajan men, they have the biggest.
We ain't talking about that.
Listen.
The biggest one.
Listen.
The biggest one.
Oh my God.
Listen.
I'm going to let her finish. Only because we're honoring women and Valentine's Day. I'm going to let you talk.
Yes. I'm trying to think.
Have you experienced that before?
Not from a Bajan.
We're not going to go through a list here.
I'm going through my mental Rolodex. Like, I'm sure I have dated one. I think we've taken it to that level. Mm-hmm. However, I love Trinidadians, but they're small.
So sad.
You don't want a little dim sum?
No.
Oh my God.
Anyway, what's up, people? Welcome to another episode of the Double Bind. I am your host, Springle. Say hi, Kenya.
Hey.
Say what's up, Mr. Dark and Brooding. Sneed. Sneed is like, it's early, right?
I love it though.
So
I mean, let's talk about something light. Like, and Kenya, what are you gonna do for Valentine's Day? Are you ready for Valentine's Day? Do you celebrate it? Is it still a thing for women in 2021?
I don't have a Valentine, but
neither do I.
I was changing my narrative this year, so I got myself some chocolate. I'm going to create a romantic evening for one. So the same thing I would do for a guy if I had a Valentine, I'm just going to do for me.
Love that. I actually think anyone who knows me, I feel like holidays are a bit overblown. I feel like they're commercialized and commodified to the point where you get more caught up in buying and selling and gifting than you actually are focusing on what it's supposed to be about. I feel like men are pressured to buy gifts. Women are sort of expecting gifts. In my head, these are the things you should do throughout.
No, women are expected to give it up.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's an even exchange, ain't it? So I find these holidays are overblown. Like Valentine's Day to me should be what you're doing on Valentine's Day, you should do for your partner throughout the year. You know what I mean? Like, no thanks. Throw it all away.
I've only had one guy that I dated who it didn't matter if he got me something on Valentine's Day or not, because he would always get me at least 2 little mini gifts during the week. And when I say mini gifts, it would be stuff like, oh, I know you like to write notes and pencils. So he'd bring me pencils, or
nice.
For this blow pop and thought of you, here's this candy. So with him, it was never a big deal if he didn't want to celebrate Valentine's Day, because just being with him was Valentine's Day every day.
Gotcha. Sneed, how you feel about like Valentine's Day as a holiday? It's overall.
Well, I never really understood it at all. Even as a child, I just thought it was stupid, and maybe because no one wanted to be my Valentine, I guess. No, because you get to like the little, like there's always that one classmate who gives Valentine's Day cards and a little lollipop inside to everybody. So it's not really that special, and that was always the case for me. But it's just like, okay, I'll eat this little nasty red lollipop. I don't even like red lollipops anyway. It's either the red one. It's either the red one or the yellow one. I hated them both, but it is what it is. Growing up,
let me guess. You rather the dark green, the dark blue.
I like the purple, the blue.
Yeah. I knew it. The dark brooding colors.
Yeah.
We gonna have to get you a therapist. You are too gothic. Anyway,
But growing up as an adult now, it's just like I get it. I think I like what the example that Kenyon just gave of like, someone buying like the little things every day up until Valentine's Day. So it's not this expectation of this extravagant, major gift on Valentine's Day, because I'm like looking at you like, nah, you don't even deserve that. So take these pencils or take this iPhone charger and be happy.
Wow. Oh, that's about $20. Okay.
Oh wow. At least you get an iPhone charger. Shit.
Coming from the Android girl.
Yeah, they're expensive. And you have to buy each component. You can't buy like all in a set. You have to buy the base. You have to buy the charger. Yeah. It's crazy.
Exactly.
This is why I keep telling you, people come over to Android. Apple got y'all locked in a cult.
Yes.
An expensive cult. And people do not realize, like, in every year, it's a new MacBook and it's a new iPhone. And all they did was just add one feature that Android may have had like 20 years ago.
Exactly.
Stop. Yeah.
But they don't hear me though. They don't hear us though. It's cool. Team Green Bubble.
Sneed crossed over to the dark side a couple years ago.
But you know what? I did. And I will say this. I had my reasons why I crossed over to the dark side, but now it doesn't matter because they've gotten rid of like iTunes or whatever. And you can download Apple Music for any phone that you have. But I actually regret it because now I can't download porn to my phone.
I'm sorry, what?
It's like it's crazy.
Anyway,
No, but that's also like a good selling point. Like,
Kenya, we are not going on an ad campaign selling porn to sell products.
I'm not even talking about porn. I'm talking about like data. With iPhone, it's too
complicated
to download certain data. And with us techs, you get all kinds of music and different formats. You can always open it on your Android, but on an iPhone, it's always a huge headache.
Yeah, it's always some kind of resistance or roadblock or whatever. It's crazy, but
yeah. See, I wasn't talking about porn.
I was. Sorry.
Anyway, Taylor, speaking of love in all its forms,
yes.
let's take it back to Valentine's Day. And for those who may not know, this month on the Double Bind podcast, we are honoring Black History Month with a film review each week. So we're covering different films that either are centered around Black characters, if not specifically on or about Black characters. So this week we are honoring Sylvie's Love, starring Tessa Thompson and Nnamdi.
Kerry Washington's husband.
Damn, the man got a name, y'all.
Kerry Washington's husband.
We're gonna figure out how to pronounce it by the end.
Is that Asamuka? Is that how you pronounce it?
But yeah, no, the G is silent, so Amua or something.
Okay.
Anyway, Kerry Washington's husband.
Sorry, Kerry Washington's husband. I tried.
Exactly.
But so we all saw the film, and I just kind of want to chop it up a little bit and see how we each felt. Kenya, you want to go first?
Yes. For me, this is the first time that I've seen a Black film on just Black love. There wasn't any major oppression about it. I love the fashion. I love the fact that there was an element of sophistication. Like, we're not always... How should I say this with not
Ratchet hood love stories?
Yeah, right. It's not always a hood love story. All of us are not hood. So for the first time, it was just like, oh, it's a Black movie about Black love. And there's an element of sophistication, like, nice. Yes, Black people do live like this. You know what I mean? So I loved that about the film.
Sneed?
Yes. I love the setting. I love the fact that there was a little bit of elegance and class and sophistication to the film. I liked the different approach because it wasn't typical. It wasn't typical. It wasn't typical in that regard. I like the fact that everyone spoke like they understood the English language. It was,
yes.
I gotta say, there are certain movies that kind of take you back to a time like, damn, I wish I lived in that era. And that was one of those films because everyone was just dressed really nice. It was like the Harlem Renaissance kind of vibe going on. And I was like, you know what? I wish I was there with them and just like trying and experiencing that time. Because they transport you back to a nice place. It's very romantic and whimsical and stuff like that. So it was nice.
Yeah, it was just nice to see that on film. Like, oh my God, just Black people just being.
Gotcha. I agree with everything. I think we're all kind of on the same page. I doubt any one of us here are feeling it differently. What I love most about the film, Sylvie's love, two things. I love the way it was shot. Visually, it was a beautiful film to look at. And I also loved the pacing. So in terms of the way the story built up and just the kind of little tension, the little nuances, all three of us here are actors. When we're looking at a film, we understand sort of the little choices that actors make. Like, I love his character's almost awkwardness in trying to kind of express how he liked her in the beginning. It's kind of like, I want to look at you, but I don't want to look at you. I don't want to look too obvious. Like, I love that little vulnerability that his character showed. I also loved her playfulness, the youth of it all in the beginning. For me, the beginning part of that falling in love, at my age and my stage, I'm a little, we're kind of bitter, old and bitter.
Whoa. Why bitter? Those are experiences.
Well, I wouldn't say bitter. I wouldn't say bitter. Maybe just a little jaded in the sense of, that's cute. But the beginning stages of their relationship kind of took me back to when you were younger and love felt fresh and felt new and it felt vibrant and it felt attractive, versus when you're older and you kind of understand, okay, there's some work to love. Yeah, I love the way it was shot. I love the pacing. I love the beginning part of their relationship and just the way it developed. And again, overall, like what you were saying, Kenya, and also Sneed, I was actually thinking this, even though Naomi Aja King's character was like the fast one, she still kind of grew up into this sophisticated woman. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like, I was thinking normally if this were more of a contemporary setting, it would be a hood love story. He'd probably be a street dude. She'd probably be, not necessarily a street girl, but a roundaway girl who probably had some issues with the family and daddy wasn't around, or daddy and mommy are fighting. Yeah. And then the dynamics, they didn't know how to communicate with each other. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was beautiful seeing a Black love story that was done in a much more broader, more human scale. And I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever seen a Black film shot like this. You know what I mean? What you were saying, Sneed, even the jazz, it felt like I was watching poetry.
Yes, certain elements of it.
Yeah, that's a good word. Slow poetry, because it was a little slow for me. The pacing was just a little slow for me, but yes, I get it.
I think that had to parallel the falling in love kind of thing. You don't think so?
I don't, but
Kenya, what do you think? Falling in love can be quick sometimes and it can be slow sometimes. I think the film, the pacing represented how we fall in love, no?
Well, I would say passion or lust is very quick.
Right.
Really falling in love takes a little bit of time.
True. Well, for some, back in the days I used to, fall.
Okay.
So do you think the pacing was really for Sylvia because she was already engaged to somebody else and they didn't want to make her seem like a complete tramp?
What you call me?
Tramp.
You know what? Yeah. I think in some ways because it had to focus on her struggling to process this. You know what I mean? Imagine being engaged to someone else and then some other dude runs up in your space and now you kind of have to decide. Like,
that's usually how it works.
That's usually how it works, right? I was really surprised, and I'm glad that we're talking about this. You know what I expected with the husband? Again, because of the kind of films we've seen, I thought he would have went off and actually beat her up.
Wow.
For some strange reason, that's what I was expecting.
Springle, I hear what you're saying, because I was actually waiting for that stuff too. I was waiting for that typical conflict, that typical response to these types of
male ego.
Yeah, I was looking for a confrontation scene between her husband Lacey and Robert, and it never happened.
Even that too.
Like there was never.
But when you're dealing with men that's on a certain stature and they have a lot to lose, they're not gonna do the hood shit.
But the male ego
Yeah, but you're in love with but the male
Does not.
ego.
We
No
don't.
matter what
Right. We don't give
no
a
matter what
fuck
status you
what your
are in
status
life,
is, nigga. You gonna
Listen,
be
no matter
talking
what
about
I
race.
status you
dated
have in life, your ego
And
is
this
your
the
ego.
I dated a young man that had a lot to lose. He wasn't fighting nothing. He fights with attorneys. If a young lady isn't doing what he needs, it's like, okay, thank you, I'm out.
Got you.
Somebody have something to lose, and he came from a very prestigious family. He doesn't fight with his fists. He fights with attorneys.
So he has that family history there.
But
So.
you know what? Not back in that day. Not back in that day. I don't think they had that type of mentality back in the day. And Lacey said it. You know, he married her knowing that the child wasn't his. You know, he could have had other women, but he chose you. So you still stepping out, even though I have made all these choices and sacrifices for you, and you still chasing after the saxophone man? Yeah, I'm beating somebody's ass. I'm beating somebody's ass.
Is the saxophone man. Oh, we see what character you would have been back then. But isn't that kind of cool though? How they flip the narrative. Usually it's the male
I'm glad
stepping
you
out
brought
and
that
fucking
up
up.
too, because that was going to be another one of my points. I am loving these movies where they actually and no disrespect to the women and to the ladies of Double Bind, but I love these movies that they actually show that women can be bums and dirtbags too. It's not just men.
There's some hoes in this house. There's some hoes in this house. There's some hoes in this
And Kenya
house.
is not denying; she's just laughing. But no, you don't think that was kind of dope, Kenya, to actually kind of flip the control of the dynamics within the relationship, kind of centering around her versus.
Listen, I like everything that's not necessarily typical in Black movies. So yeah, I'm cool with it. You know, women step out some step out a little bit different.
Yeah, y'all do it real slick.
You have all of the
Real
money and the
quick, like
prestige.
you have a whole child, don't tell nobody until like years later.
Talking about that's your uncle.
Well, that part I don't know because I don't have any children, so I'm not going to speak on that. But you know, I get it because even as a woman, sometimes when you're dating a guy and he has all of these things, you're like, oh my God, why don't I like him? And then you meet somebody else, and it's just something about that connection that you're drawn to that person. So you're just, you know what? I'm gonna risk it all. Screw it.
Between the two of them, I'm glad you said that, Kenneth. Between the two of them, what do you think was the attraction factor between each of them? What do you think he found attractive in her, and what do you think she found attractive in him?
Well, I think personally, I love a creative man. So that's what I connected with. Like she connected with him on like a creative level, like that excitement of dating a creative because it's coming up with something new versus a 9-to-5er who just has the same type of job. And eventually she started working in TV. She understands the life of working entertainment versus, you know, a regular job.
Yeah. Steve?
I'm going to say this. I think that she saw, I don't want to sound, this is going to sound gross, but please don't take this literal. But I think the women tend to look for men that resemble or have some sort of qualities as their father, if their fathers are good people.
Oh, no, sometimes they even go after the bad ones because, you know, the
and I know, but I really think that she saw her father in Robert because they had similar structures. He was a musician. Rob was a musician. He was kind of soft-spoken and kind and passionate, and so was her father, which is why I was a little bit surprised why her mother was so resistant. Well, I know why. What am I saying? Because she was already engaged. But it's like...
But she's also from that light-skinned cotillion era.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was like, oh, so you went to conservatory? And he was like, nah, I taught myself. And she was like, oh, okay.
Yes. That mother wanted that prestige.
I think that Robert also let her be her. Like, you know, he never criticized her or questioned her ambition or never stood in her way of what she wanted to do, where Lacey was a jerk. I was just like, dude, really?
I wouldn't call him a jerk. I think he was just being a typical man back in that time when women, your place is in the kitchen. Yeah, I'll let you get a job, but make sure you come home, cook, clean, and take care of that kid.
When he saw, that still happens today. That still happens today.
I don't think it's as common though. I don't think it's as
But
common.
yeah, because as a woman, sometimes your men don't allow you to just authentically be yourself. It's
Hold
like,
on.
this
Women
is
don't do
my
that either.
perception of
Let's be
you.
real.
Amen.
Let's be real.
Amen. Amen.
Whoa.
Amen.
It's different. It's different as a woman. Sometimes we are seen as objects and not
Men are the
necessarily
same
people.
way.
That's what I'm
Are men
referring
not?
to.
Are men not treated the same way?
Well, you know what? That's a good point. I think men can sometimes be seen as just it's either a bank book with some occasional dick.
Like I know
Yeah.
women. I know
Yeah, I
women
think- yeah,
who
I
have
think-
said. I know females who have said this about their boyfriends. Oh, thank God he looks good because he has no brain.
Oh,
Well, I am a young woman who makes my own money, so I'm never really running after a dude that has money. So for me, it's about companionship and can I be my authentic self with this person without him trying to change me. So I can't speak for a woman who is in someone else's pocket.
DMs looking for their pockets. What's good?
I wasn't speaking specifically about their pockets. I'm just talking about their aesthetic, their look. I think women and men do the same thing.
Can be superficial.
Yeah, we all. I mean, it may not be to the extreme as men do it, but women do it too.
Yeah, I love an action figure, a six pack, and a nice face, and somebody that's 6 foot. You hollering, you listening on double bind.
my name is Kenya.
As I'm sitting here looking at myself and my stomach poking through this robe. Thank you, Kenya.
You're welcome.
Yeah, action figure body, my ass.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
She said, "You're welcome."
I like what I like. I'm saying.
I hear you. I mean, we all like what we like. But yeah, so Sneed, I just want to segue slightly. So you said something about you love the fact that in the film people spoke like they understood the English language. I just made some notes here.
Yes, I sure did. Yes, I say it again. I love the fact that they act like they spoke the English language. Yes.
So do you have an issue with people who speak only in AAVE, African American Vernacular English?
No, I do not. Thank you for bringing this up because just, like I said, I ain't trying to offend nobody. We love everybody here on Double Bond, but
no, we don't. We don't. Anyway,
I'm glad to see a film where, they speak like where all that slang and all that broken English is not driving every character in this film. Like we're intelligent people. We know how to speak eloquently. We know how to dress eloquently. We know how to act eloquently. So
right.
I need to see more of that. First of all, because I kind of sat back. I was like, oh, here we go with this again. And as soon as the movie came on, because it started with the jazz music, and I immediately, I don't know why, I thought, oh, here we go, another Mo Better Blues clone. Okay, here we go. And it just went somewhere else, and it drew me in. I was just like, oh man, I love this. I love everything about this movie. Let's think about it. How many times have you seen movies where it's always some slang or some sort of this kind of foolishness? It's like, like what? Come on now.
Bitch this, nigga this.
Yeah. But a lot of times the writers don't really know how to write for Black people.
But what if those writers were Black?
I'm sorry? I didn't finish my point. I'm getting there.
My bad.
And sometimes as Black writers, it's like I'm trying to connect to the hipper crowd, so let me throw in some slang or whatever. And it's just, we still have a lot of work to do.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. We all use slang. Everybody on this podcast uses slang. But it's like, once in a while, I would like to hear someone speak the language of how it's supposed to be spoken.
I'm all for creating your own narrative. Create what you want to see.
That's a good point, but I think where it gets conflated is sometimes it's similar to music. Like the product is being fed to the audience, and the audience is now absorbing and embracing the product, and now almost reflecting that back to the producers of said product. So, you know what I mean? But I agree. I would definitely love to see more films like Sylvie's Love. I love the pacing. I love the way it was shot. Again, it was beautifully done, beautifully written. I'm not really into love stories. I like my science fiction, my escapist shit. this was a great movie just to see two Black people who aren't necessarily screaming and fighting each other outside of some tenement yard with a bunch of babies running around crying and problems and, people being locked up and all that type of shit. So it was, I definitely think this was a great film, especially for Valentine's Day to represent Black love.
And another thing I want to bring up, like, it is so relevant to today because how many situations have any of us been in where we could have found the person that we are intended to be with, and yet life throws us in different directions, or we are afraid to express ourselves to be vulnerable so we can be with that person. There were times when I wanted to yell at the TV, just talk to the man, or, just talk to the lady, or just walk up on this jack faked up Mary J. Blige who's wearing lingerie in the middle of the night with some red cape. I said, press that hoe. Walk up to him. Let me talk to him.
I speak my feelings. If I feel something, I will speak my feelings.
Right. Walk up on her. What's going on here? I'm not going to be standing in the alleyway in the shadows and drift off in the night like some phantom. What's going on
But
here?
you need a little bit of conflict for film. But in reality, like, don't you think
they had plenty of conflict? They had plenty of conflict.
He's like, I had enough. But no. So let's take it back to just love in general. So how about y'all know me? I always talk metaphysics, frequency, vibration, things like that. I do believe two people can be meant. Well, not meant per se, but they can be a good fit for each other. But because of their emotional state at the time, so they're at two different states, that's why it can't work. So sometimes I am all for like people breaking up and coming back together years later. And the reason I say that, because sometimes the growth is needed outside of each other. You know what I mean? Is Kenya, that's a no. I'm hearing a lot. Yeah.
I think Kenya, that's a hell no. Kenya shades when she Kenya shades when she sings and grunts.
I'm just saying, like, the breakup and come back together, for me, it feels like, okay, in this moment, I wasn't what you wanted. You wanted that big ass. That big ass didn't work out for whatever reason. And now you want to come back to me. Like, no, I'm not a revolving door. I'm not. If we have issue, let's work on it together, or work through it. Let's talk about it or whatever. But that back and forth shit, like, as an adult, present day, I'm not doing that back and forth shit. Nah.
See, I'm not talking about back and forth.
Let's look at it this way. Look at it this way. Look at it this way. You have to give people the opportunity to grow and own their mistakes in their relationships, because what you did as a young man, you may not do as an older man 10 years down the line. There's not one person, Kenya, that you can think about that you were, over the hills in love with. It didn't work out. 10, 15 years later, you never actually had those conversations about revisiting a situation.
Listen,
and what would it be like?
I just had a situation that I revisited, and he should have stayed in the past. Again, I'm not a revolving door. And now as an adult, I realized, that dude was super toxic. I've grown, but he's doing the same shit that he was doing back in the day. So for me.
So that is the exact situation that I'm saying. Whereas you see the growth, he doesn't have it.
Present day Kenya, I'm not trying to do the back and forth. I don't have 10 to 20 years to waste on somebody. I'm of a certain age. We're not necessarily on the same path, then that's fine. I wish you well. I hope you find what it is you're looking for, because I'm not her.
No, I'm actually talking about, because again, I do believe, I don't believe people are meant to be together. I don't, when I was younger, you believe in that type of shit, but I don't believe people are necessarily meant, but I do believe people can be compatible. Because a lot of times you want the same things, you just have different ways of going about it. And then and again, taking it back to when you're younger, the immaturity, I will say this, and I've always said this, men are the biggest problem makers in society and in life, men and the male ego. And so men don't really start maturing, I don't think, until maybe after 35. So I think once a man has gotten to a point where he's mature and he's able to hold himself accountable and have those kind of self-reflective conversations, I don't think people necessarily change, but they can grow. And within that growth, I'm not talking about your situation, whereas that person didn't grow, But I'm seeing my situation, I guess maybe it's a little bit idealized, but it's two people that unfortunately were not on the same wavelength at the time. Time passes, they've experienced different things. It's allowed them to grow, not the people that haven't grown, but it's allowed them to grow their
Sounds
experience.
good.
Then they come back and then they realize, okay, this is what I could have done better.
That's like 1 in a million, though.
I have an issue with the coming back part. It was, I wasn't good enough in this moment. Oh, this is my security blanket. Let me come back. Nah, son. Mm-mm.
Got you.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, Kenya. I do. I guess it just depends on the scenario and the person, because there are some people who I feel like I would totally be like that. That would be my approach. Like, get out of here, get your shit and get the F out. But there are other people, there are probably 1 or 2 individuals that I would probably be like, I would possibly entertain just to see just how much truth is in the pudding, as old folks used to say. Timing is a bitch, like for real. Like, so in that scenario, would you revisit the situation?
I've done it twice. And in both situations, I was like, nope, should have left it in the past. So for me, with those 2 examples, I'm not doing it anymore. You cannot come back. If it didn't work, it's fine. Thank you for your time, but I'm not doing the back and forth.
What's it? Thank you. Next.
Yeah.
Well, here's wishing everyone that they find their own version of Sylvie's love. So, again, since this is Black History Month, I wanted to touch on some Black inventors. Have any of you come across any Black inventors you'd like to note?
Well, this one, I don't know if anyone has selected him, but I felt personally connected to this one because I was in the Army for quite some time, and I had to wear the invention that he created. What he contributed to the actual creation of the gas mask. His name is Garrett Morgan. He was born in 1877. He died in 1963. His major developments was the gas mask and the traffic signal. He created the safety hood to help firefighters navigate through smoky buildings, and later modified it to carry its own air supply, making it the world's first effective gas mask. Like, I have worn gas masks, and let me tell you, the safety hood is everything, because if there is any free space for that gas or that smoke to creep up in that mask, you are done for. Trust me, I have been there. It is not a pleasant situation. So big ups to Garrett Morgan for his contribution to the world's first effective gas mask.
And also the development of the traffic light, you said, right? Keeping us from getting killed. I don't
drive as much as I used to anymore. But yes, jamming out, because I got to be honest with you, sometimes one of my songs come on and I forget that I'm driving. I'm just like, just...
Well, brings me to my inventor, R. Johnson. He patented the improvement of the folding bicycle frame, October 10th, 1899. I'm a new cyclist since the pandemic has happened, and I love riding bikes. So that's why this was of interest to me. Isaac R. Johnson was born in New York sometime during 1810, and while he was not the first person to invent the bicycle frame, he was the first African American to invent and patent the bicycle frame, especially a frame which could be folded or taken apart for easy storage. And living in New York, you definitely need to be able to take your bike apart to store it in your apartment.
Is your bike foldable, Kenya?
My first one was foldable. Second one isn't foldable, but it's better.
Sounds like a lot of dudes out there.
Okay, Kenya is single. If you're 6'4".
My inventor, his name is Richard Bowie Spikes. He was born on October 2nd, 1878 in San Francisco, of all places, which is very little Black people out there now. Little is known about his childhood and his education, but he developed, for example, the beer keg tap in 1910, the automatic car washer in 1913, automatic gear shift and transmission and shifting thereof of vehicles in 1932 and 1933, respectively. And then he also helped to develop the automatic safety brake in 1962. And for his development of those inventions, he received over $100,000. Back then in 1930, for a black man to receive that was phenomenal. That is equal to about $1.5 million today.
Wow.
So kudos to Mr. Spike. He actually went blind by the time he created the automatic safety brake. I'm almost tongue-tied there. And the great thing about it, that after he invented the automatic safety brake, that device would soon be found in almost every school bus in the nation. So imagine the amount of lives, children's lives, he saved, with that invention. So kudos as well to Richard Spikes, another phenomenal black inventor. All right. Well, that was
all right,
cool.
Mr. Spike. All right.
Yeah. You heard that, Spike Lee? No, corny. I'm gonna let that go. So that was it, ladies and gentlemen, for another episode of Double Bind. Again, we're here honoring Black History Month. And of course, we're going to be honoring Black films that center around Black characters or the Black experience. Once again, thank you so much, Kenya, for joining me, my co-host, Kenya.
You are
my
welcome.
co-host, Sneed, of course, the master of doom and gloom.
You're welcome.
Once again, Bugs will be in next week. He's missing from this recording this week because he's busy, I guess. I don't know, but moving on. Tune in next week. And I'm not being shady this week. I'm just like, I have my coffee. I just have my coffee. So tune in next week, and hopefully you enjoyed this episode, and we'll learn more about some Black historical figures next week. All right.
Thank you for tuning in. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and now Clubhouse, as well as all major streaming platforms. Don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe. And we'd love to hear from you, so leave us a comment.